WBA and IBF light heavyweight world champion Sergey Crusher Kovalev, and Andre Son of God, SOG Ward, and we are talking about their upcoming fight on November 19th at T-Mobile Arena in Las Vegas. This event is going to be produced and distributed live by HBO pay-per-view beginning 9 p.m. ET and 6 p.m. PT. The fight is titled Pound for Pound, and it is presented by Main Event, Rock Nation Sports, Crusher Promotions, and Andre Ward Promotions, and it's sponsored by MGM Grand Hotel and Casino. I know you've waited a long time, so I will just go ahead and introduce everybody that is going to be on this call and available for questions and answering when we begin that. First, I'll introduce to you Kathy Duva, the CEO of Main Event. Kathy, would you like to say a few words?
Hello, everyone. Welcome. We are now, I can't believe it, just a week and a half away from the most exciting, most compelling, most competitive fight of 2016 and probably the last 2 or 3 years while we're at it. And we are just beside ourselves here. We're exhausted. We've been working so hard, but it is a good exhaustion. It's a great feeling. And I can't compliment the fighters enough for stepping up and making boxing what it's supposed to be, what it used to be, a sport that involves people competing in fights where we don't know the outcome. It's a 50-50 fight, and we're starting to feel the buzz and excitement. So I want to thank you all for participating today, and we hope to see you all in Las Vegas very soon.
Thanks. And now, Sergey Crusher Kovalev, would you like to say hello to the media and any words?
Hello, everybody. Glad to be here.
Short and sweet. And Agus Klimas is also with us. He is Sergey's manager and a great man. And Agus, would you like to say hello?
I just wanted to say hello to everybody. I wanted to thank Sergey Kovalev making this appearance to the fight and bringing us to this level, because he's the man and he's the one who brought us here, and he's the reason we're here on the line. So I just wanted to thank Sergey, and I want to just to welcome everybody to this phone call. Thank you very much.
Thanks. And we also have with us John David Jackson, who is Sergey's trainer. John, would you like to say some words?
Hello. Yes, hello. I just want to thank everybody for being there, participating in this phone call. And it's a wonderful event to attend. So all the fans come out and watch this fight. Great fight, two very good fighters. And it's definitely a fight for the fans to see. So just thank everybody for participating.
Great. If anyone needs an electronic press kit, you can email me at ehaley@mainevents.com, and I'll get that over to you. And now, without any further delay, I will let Allie open up the Q&A. She will explain what you need to do in order to get into the Q&A and ask some questions.
Thank you. We will now begin the question and answer session. If you have a question, please press star, then 1 on your touch-tone phone. If you wish to be removed from the queue, please press the pound sign or the hash key. If you are using a speakerphone, you may need to pick up the handset first before pressing the button. Once again, if you have a question, press star and 1 on your touch-tone phone. And our question from Eddie Goldman. Eddie, your line is open.
Thank you very much. Hello, everybody. First question for Sergey. Sergey, everybody knows the records of you and Andre Ward. Do you consider Andre Ward to be the best fighter that you've ever faced?
We'll find out this November 19th, I don't know yet. But I think so, yes.
Andre Ward is somebody, I'm sure you've watched a lot of his fights, who's described himself as a chameleon. Sometimes he'll brawl, sometimes he'll box. What do you expect him to do in this fight, and how are you prepared for his different strategy?
I don't have any different strategy, My strategy is just the one, any cost to get next. He's right now on my way to my goals and to my dreams, and I cannot to give him to do this, I should to do my job and follow for my goals and for my dreams. I must to destroy him.
Okay.
Thank you. And our next question comes from Robert Morales. Robert, your line is open.
Thank you. Sergey, I'm wondering, Andre Ward is different from any of the fighters. So have you done anything different in training than you usually do to prepare for Andre?
Why I should do something change if what I did before gave me success, and I follow for my same training camp as usually before, and it should be give me great steps for November 19th.
Okay, thanks. Good luck.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. And our next question comes from Salvador Rodriguez. Salvador, your line is open.
Hello, this is Salvador Rodriguez from ESPN Deportes. I just want to ask Sergey Kovalev if he believes that this is the fight that gave us the first place in the pound-by-pound ranking.
Ты думаешь, что этот бой тебя переведет номер один pound-for-pound боксер? I don't think about what will be after the fight, because I have a focus. My whole attention has a focus right now on this fight, and to work what I should to do inside the ring. But what will be after, we'll see after the fight. It's already another thing.
Yeah. What is your expectation about the style of war? Is more like a wrestling fight or more like a war? Do you know that if war goes to the war, he has a less chance to defeat you?
Как ты думаешь, твой бой, если вор больше пойдет как на войну, знаешь, как бы вор, и какие-то фамилии, как ты сам это видишь? Of course, this fight is opportunity for both of us, to show for boxing world who is the best pound for pound. And I'm sure that he will be to do he will be to do everything to get victory over me, and same as me, it's gonna be it's gonna be a war between us, who is the best boxer and who is the best athlete.
Finally, for your trainer, Mr. Jackson. How do you train right now to Sergey Kovalev to get patient in the ring and not make mistakes with a guy like Andre Ward?
Это вопрос для меня?
No, это John David Jackson.
Okay.
Thank you.
John.
And as a reminder, if you do have a question for Sergey, Kathy...
Yeah, what was the question again?
Good morning, John.
Good morning. That question for me.
Salvador, repeat your question.
Yeah.
He did drop off.
Okay, so let's go to the next one, Allie.
The next question comes from Gail Falkenthal. Gail, your line is open.
Good afternoon, everybody. Sergey, we know you are a very
physically talented boxer. What do you think makes you the more mentally tough boxer in this fight?
I think so that this is the most thing for me, like a mentally fight. We're not going.
Somebody doing a dish?
We're not. Yes, we're very noisy. Very noisy. Yeah.
Yeah, it's never being noisy. Please mute your phone. Go ahead, Sergey.
This fight for me means really mentally, like it's gonna be fight of our mentally, who is not the stronger, who is the smarter, and will bring best skill and best shape into the ring, and also who is mentally stronger. But we're not going to pick up some weight, into the ring. And here should be really who is smarter, who is sneaky, and it is goal, But if will happen to knock him out, it will be bonus for boxing fans and for me myself.
Thank you, Sergey. Kathy and John, I'd love you to answer that question as well from your viewpoint.
I'm sorry, can you repeat the question?
Sure. And the question was, it's clear both these men are in tremendous physical shape and skilled, but the question was, what makes Sergey the more mentally tough fighter?
I think Sergey has... I've seen Sergey demonstrate his mental toughness time and time again. He has faced more adversity in his life than most fighters have ever even contemplated. And I'm aware that Ward has also faced adversity, but I've never heard Sergey talk about how boxing is a sacrifice. I've never heard him use language like that. We frequently hear from Ward about how hard it is. Sergey's attitude toward boxing has always been like, oh, wow, this is this great opportunity. I'm so happy I'm doing it. And I know he has tough times, and I know there's days when, he's at the gym, and I'm sure it doesn't feel that way. But his attitude has always been about loving his work, loving what he's doing. He can't wait for the fight to start. He works hard because he wants to be the best. I think it's not just mental toughness, it's his mental attitude. I think it's very positive. And I think that's the thing that carries him. That and the chip that's on his shoulder that has been there for forever, just wanting to prove that he's the best. You take that combination of work ethic and chip on your shoulder and focus like a laser, and then loving what he's doing. And sometimes I say when he's getting in the ring, it looks like he's about to have a steak. I mean, that's kind of the look on his face. I think kind of part of what makes it so much fun to watch him. So yeah, he's gonna be all in mentally, and I think that's gonna be I think it's always been his advantage over ever.
And John, what do you have to add to that?
Well, I agree with what Kathy said, but it's just the same upbringing and the surroundings, growing up in Russia, the hard times he had to go through. I think that's what made him the more mentally tougher, stronger fighter, and his desire to be champion, stay champion. He loved the limelight and the adulation that he gets. So those things make him the mentally tougher fighter and mentally stronger fighter.
Does that make it easier or harder for you to work with him sometimes?
A little bit of both, because Sergey has his own. He knows what he wants to do, and he has his plans already set. So what I do is I have to work on what he wants to do, because he's a fighter. And in the ring, he knows what he wants to do, as all fighters should want to know and do what they want to do. So for me, it can be hard sometimes. He's already, his mindset is set on one thing. But I make it a little bit easier because I allow him to do what he wants to do, and I just work off what he wants to do, which makes him a better fighter. Because he already knows what he wants to do, so hey, why not let him do that and just create some more things that make it easier for him to do his job.
Thank you all very much.
Thank you. And our next question comes from Dan Raphael. Dan, your line is open.
Thank you very much. Hello, everybody. I want to start with a question for Kathy. Hello, Kathy.
Okay.
KOVALEV has been with you now at main events for about 4.5 years. And when you first saw him, and then after, I guess you watched one fight, and then you guys made a deal to sign him, can you just describe your thoughts about going from the time where you first saw him and nobody was really that interested in signing Sergey to the point where you are now, where he is an undefeated, unified world champion? He is considered one of the top, 3 or 4 fighters in the entire sport, and he's on the verge of being involved in, one of the biggest and best fights of 2016. It's been not that long of a road, but I'm not sure you could have imagined from that moment in Bethlehem, Pennsylvania, to now that it would come to this. Can you just give me your thoughts about that trail to get here?
From the moment I saw him in Bethlehem, I immediately imagined him being the best fighter in his division. I thought it at that second, and I remember Russell Peltz running up to me saying, "Who wouldn't you put this guy in with?" And I said, "I can't think of anyone." So that's not such a stretch. But to be to the point where we are now talking about becoming that number one in the world. Not just top of his division, top of boxing. This is the dream, And main events has worked with some tremendous fighters. We've had some incredible runs. For the most part, those really big names were guys who came with Olympic medals, and nobody was surprised when they succeeded. To take Sergey from the point where nobody, even in Russia, knew who he was, where he'd never been given a leg up by anybody, where nobody wanted to even look at him, to take him to where he is today, I have to say, I couldn't. We at main events couldn't do that with just anybody, but when the person came along with the skill and the drive and the desire to do it, it was a perfect marriage for us of Sergey's in-show abilities and talent and main events ability to go out there and know exactly what to do to move a person. So this is kind of the opportunity I had been waiting for a very, very long time to kind of prove myself, prove my staff, prove my company that we were still there, could do this. And I guess we gave Sergey the opportunity to prove what he could do. So it was a beautiful thing, and meant to be.
It's kind of, Kathy, like the opposite of Ward. When Ward came into the professional ranks, he was an Olympic gold medalist from the United States, had the big signing bonus. This was expected by him, not by Ward. Do you think that you talk about, I heard you mention about how you hear Andre talk about the sacrifice in boxing, whereas Sergey's opinion is that, what a great opportunity this is. Do you think that perspective, that where Andre comes from, that this was expected of him from day one, where for Sergey, he expected it of himself, but it came as a surprise to basically everybody else? Do you think there's something to that?
Yeah, I think there is. I think you make a good point. Even when it comes to the job of, making this event work and promoting it, Sergey has taken the attitude from the start. This is my job. This is my opportunity. I'm not going to have any regrets when it's over. I'm going to have done everything I had to do. I think we worked really hard to manage that load for him so it doesn't interfere with his training. I think for from the brief time I've worked with Ward, the attitude's different. It's not, hey, I'm really happy you're all paying attention to me. It's sort of like, okay, we'll make a list of what we'll do. We are approaching this from two very different places. There is no doubt. And I think when it's always come to you and there were people standing there with cameras and lights, from the very start, of course, there's a natural tendency to kind of, maybe recoil from it a little bit. Sergey's running toward the light here, and sometimes I know it's not fun or exciting for him to do that, and I know how hard he has worked, and I appreciate it probably more than anybody in the world how hard he has worked to become that star, that fan-friendly star that people want to see and know, and it shows. And he has a very, very different attitude towards this. Yeah, to him, this isn't a chore. This is an opportunity.
Well, I'd like to ask Sergey about that also. Hello, Sergey.
Hi.
Sergey, when you were coming up and you were, at Don Turner's camp in North Carolina, and Agus was bringing you from fight to fight in different places, and you had no idea if you were going to ever get, the opportunity to show off your talents to a wider audience. and to get to the point where you are now, 4.5 years later, to be in a huge fight like this against Ward as an undefeated champion, on a worldwide stage. I asked Kathy about, how she thought, if you could get to this point. What were your own expectations, and how did it go for you in your mind to get from where you were back, pounding it with Don Turner and Egis around the country to now where you're in this big fight? Can you describe the challenges that you face and if you're surprised at all that you're here?
Ты понял, да?
Ну, говори.
Ну, он спрашивает, говорит, когда ты начинал там в Норт-Каролайне с Дон Турнером, и у тебя как вот это все сложилось на сегодняшний день, то есть это твое зрелище, вот как ты на сегодняшний день вот это все видишь, когда это все начиналось и когда есть сейчас?
Ага. Yeah, I'm very surprised myself. Because when I was in amateur boxing, like I never I thought that I someday will turn in pro at all, in my life. Because for me it was very think about professional boxing was very crazy, I thought that in the pro boxing, just beat all brain from your hand, and it's very dangerous because in amateur enough, and injuries and some very hard fights, some fights was for me, and I thought 12 rounds I never will do it all, and when my life pushed me, I turned to pro, and one man, Anatoly, Egis friend, who found me, in Russia, and he met with me in some tournament in Moscow, and we started to speak about professional boxing, and I started to think maybe no, maybe yes, and final point was and decision was after 2008 Russian Championship when I won a fight in the final fight and victory gave to my opponent, could somebody stop to move something please? And when I turned to pro and came to North Carolina, I was disappointed really, disappointed. Why? Because I thought if I will turn to pro, I will get advanced this level where I am right now. And 3 years we fought without any promoters. I fought with support of Egis, and he financed everything. He was my father, my brother, my guide. He was for me, and still.
Not a girlfriend.
Yeah, but not a girlfriend, of course. And still to be for me, everybody who I ask him, any help from Egis I can get anytime, and I when I fought maybe 15, 16 fights, and I already started to think that, come on, I should start to fighting and come back to Russia, and to do something, and get money, some another way. but not boxing because like already 3 years, like 15 fights, 16 fights even, and no money, like no promoter, like no any future for me in the boxing, like. And when I chose to when I fought in Russia, like 2011, and after the fight, tragedy fight against Maximakov, and I stay in Russia, like for maybe for 2-3 months. I already don't remember, but I almost decided that probably not will go to America because like no any plan. We didn't have any promoters, any plan for future. What they will be to do, like again back to big bed just for workout. Like I thought, why? And Eggy someday like he called me when I was in Russia. Maybe it was like February already. And he called me and said me that one promoter from many events, Katie Dula, wants to give me an opportunity to improve me. And I believed again in the boxing, in myself, to Aegis, that maybe this is chance like to show me, and okay, I will try again. And I tried, and we fought Darnell Boone, the second part, and after this we signed contract with Katie Du and Main Event Promotion.
Aegis, that was a great answer, Sergey. Thank you very much.
Yes, Dan.
Aegis, I would like to know from you, because you're the one that I guess had the vision that put him with Don, that was doing small fights with him in South Carolina and Tacoma, Washington, and just all over the country on these small shows, and also bankrolling it. I know that the money wasn't easy for you to come by at that time. What was it that you saw in him at that time, and is the end result where you are now what you expected, or is it even beyond what you thought could have happened? Like what kept you going during those lean years, trying to move him along?
Listen, it was a very, very not experience, I would say. I was a new kid coming to the block. Don Turner was a tutor who, he gave me everything in boxing, what I could get. But no matter what, I didn't know much about what's going on. And bringing Sergey to this point, first time I met Sergey, that was a Kazakhstan, and then he did a shadow boxing. Don Turner looked at him and he said, "Eggy, where did you get this guy from?" He was so surprised. And then after that, we went a very long run. I used to go, I used to call every single promoter, I used to try to put him on every single show. I used to, try to show him to everybody who's around. Look, this guy is. Yeah.
Let me say, Stan, we was as a kitten, in this business. Like a kitten, like we just came and like, wow. Мы нас запихнули, скажи, в этот бизнес. И мы приходилось, тут учиться и оглядываться. И вот благодаря своим, не знаю, каким-то воспитанию и навыкам мы вот как-то закрепились. Ну и удача, то, что Катя нас, как говорится, подписала.
What is Sergey saying? We were like a new kids. Somebody just throw us into the water, and me and Sergey were swimming, and we were trying to get somewhere, just to go to the shore. And Kathy is the one who gave a hand to Sergey and said, come here, come this way, swim my way, and I will do my way.
Good thing I got that lifeguard training.
Yes, it's true.
Listen, and I wanted to make this announcement too. If anybody is trying to bring me today a manager of the year, a manager of the fighters, actually Sergey, who brought me to that stage.
We each other, both, and like three of us help to each other, and we right now got success.
Exactly. Listen, he made just a very good point. He made a very good point. Nobody knew who Egis Klimas is. Nobody knew who is Sergey KOVALEV. Everybody knew who is the main event, but at that point, main event didn't exist. And now, when we come with one big team, main event, Egis Klimas and Sergey KOVALEV, we are the winners.
Heck of a team.
Is that good, Kathy?
Oh, I guess, gee. That's exactly what I told you to say. Perfect.
We are the winners.
Okay, so
and after November 19th, we're gonna be a better winners.
Still, we're gonna be still.
No questions about it.
No, I'm finally gonna get to sleep. Okay.
I'm sorry it took so much. I'm sorry it took so much long time.
It's okay.
Okay.
Our next question comes from Mitch Abramson from ringtv.com. Mitch, your line is open.
Thanks for having me. I appreciate it. Sergey, I have a question for you. Andre Ward is known for his high boxing IQ. You've been saying on this call that you're going to be the craftier, smarter fighter when you face him. Can you just a little bit and just how confident you are that you will be the smarter fighter and a more craftier fighter when you guys meet?
Я не понял.
Ну, он говорит, что он быстрый, там, знаешь, зрелищный боксер, и как думаешь, как ты сможешь его обыграть?
I'm interested too. And we'll see November 19, and for this I make right now. I'm making right now my great training camp, and to kick his ass, it's my goal, and a lot of people in the world is going to watch this fight, and I understand this, and I should prove who I am.
John David Jackson, can you speak to that a little bit about this idea that Sergey will be the smarter fighter when he faces Ward? You guys seem to be kind of harping on that Sergey is going to show his craftiness and his ring intelligence against Ward.
Well, a lot of so-called experts and people in boxing, they say that Ward is a smarter fighter. Well, listen, Ward's smart at what he does. But a lot of what he does is not fighting. It's surviving and making your opponent frustrated with the tactics that he uses. Sergey, on the other hand, is a pure all-around fighter. If push comes to shove, he can fight you. But on the flip side of that, Sergey is a very intelligent boxer. Sergey knows how to fight. He's not a one. He doesn't come into the ring trying to be a one punch knockout artist. If you watch Sergey fight, and you watch his brilliance, you see that he breaks his opponents down systematically. He didn't go in there for one shot. Now he does want the knockout, but he's learned how to now build up to the knockout, to break your body down, how to beat an opponent down, cut the ring off, and make that opponent fight. And when you have to fight him, now you're leaving yourself for a shootout, and so you're going to win the shootout because his clip is fully loaded. So if we took a fight here, Andre may be smart and very intelligent, but he's fighting with half a clip. His clip's not fully loaded. It's like LL Cool J once said, you can't fight an army with a handgun. And that's what Ward had. He has a handgun to fight the tank. Now the tank is smart. the Tang knows how to cut him down and break him down and systematically beat him. So for those that don't realize how smart and intelligent that Sergey is in the ring, on November 19th they're going to find out. And
John,
that's go ahead.
Yeah, I'm sorry, John. Have you guys been stressing? Yeah, have you guys been stressing though, just having more patience and just I guess fighting smarter in this fight because it is Ward and Ward is a guy that is a very patient fighter and is a very crafty guy.
Well, I think Sergey realized that on his own by himself, and so we work off of that. Yes, Ward is patient and he's very crafty, but see, here's the problem. You can't be that patient and crafty when you got a guy who has bombs in both hands. Sergey's going to break him down the way he has to, and you don't have time to sit there and busy the pace of fight and jab here, hold there, because you have a guy that's coming at you who has lethal weapons in both hands. So it's going to be interesting fight to see what Andre does, because he's going to have all the time that he thinks he's going to have this particular fight to do all the things that he wants to do. For this fight here, he has to fight. If he's not willing to fight, then he's in trouble.
Okay, thanks, guys.
Thank you. And our next question comes from Jason Gonzalez from MaxBoxing.com. Jason, your line is open.
Thank you, Conley. Good afternoon, everyone. I have two questions, one for John David Jackson and the other for Sergey Kovalev. John, considering that Andre Ward moved up in weight from 168, he did fight the Olympics at light heavyweight. Based on your expertise and knowledge, who do you think has the physical advantage coming into the ring on November 19th?
What you said is true, and I've always said that. As an amateur, Andre fought at 78. When he turned pro, he was at 68. He was always the bigger fighter after he rehydrated. He's not the bully, so he can't be the bully for this fight. He's not the bigger fighter. Certainly he can be the bigger fighter. As far as, who was his advantage, it depends on Andre and how much he had to lose for this fight himself, because he was on pretty big now. That's why he can fight 68 and make 68 any longer. It was killing him. So 75 now, it was only 75. The advantage, I still say the advantage goes to Sergey. Sergey's a stronger fighter, and in the ring it's going to show. He's more physical. How much more we'll find out that night, but I still give the advantage to Sergey.
Okay, thank you. And Sergey, considering that you have an excellent right hand, are you expecting Andre to be turning to southpaw the night of the fight? You think Andre will be doing that a lot?
Так как ты думаешь, что у тебя есть правая хорошая рука, ты думаешь, что Андрей перевернется на левшу?
Yes, I think he will be changing his positions during all fight, because some moments he will be feeling not comfortable after my punches.
Based on watching Andre, his career, it seems like he turns to southpaw when he has his opponent frustrated. What do you think about that? And John, if you want to comment on that too, that'd be cool.
Он говорит, что он часто переворачивается в левшу, смотря на его, и его соперники всегда не очень хорошо принимают это. Как ты это видишь?
I know the one thing, that I should be ready for everything what he will offer into the ring. I understand this, and I understand more than only changing this technique, to southpaw, right, or orthodox. It's my goal right now for what I do in the boxing, the training camp, to be ready for everything what he will offer.
Okay. And John, you got anything to comment on that?
John.
Oh, maybe we lost him.
Yeah, no. Ward may turn southpaw, but once he starts getting hit by Sergey, I think he'll go southpaw less and less. He's in his comfort zone, which is the right-handed stance. And if you look at Sergey's career, he's done well against southpaw. So, Ward can change the southpaw if he wants to.
Okay. Gentlemen, thank you, and looking forward to it. Can't wait.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And our next question comes from Samuel Rosenberg from Boxing Channel TV. Samuel, your line is open.
All right, thanks for having me. I'm really looking forward to this fight, guys. My first question is for Kathy. Kathy, I was wondering what you would compare this fight to historically, since you've been promoting around boxing for so long. I'm just curious if you can compare it to anything, really, and why.
Well, I guess the easiest comparison would be to the first time two undefeated fighters fought for pound supremacy. And that was, we were involved when it was Meldrick Taylor versus Julio Cesar Chavez Sr. And that was, main events promoted Meldrick Taylor, so we have been here before. We have also, of course, been involved in a lot of major fights involving people like Evander Holyfield and Lennox Lewis and Arturo Gatti and Pernell Whitaker, and on and on and on. But I have to say, this is the first time where we've taken a guy who didn't, we talked about this earlier, who didn't come out with an Olympic medal, who didn't come out with the heralded amateur career, because Sergey did indeed have an amateur career where he clearly learned a lot. But the first time we've taken someone who nobody expected to this level of achievement, and for that we were really proud and really happy, and this makes it a different kind of excitement for us. I think, as Dan pointed out earlier about fighters like Andre Ward, they're expected to succeed at this level. It's a lot more fun when nobody expects you to do it. So we're having a lot of fun.
Right, from the ground up, I hear you.
I can say more, excuse me, that everybody in the world want to see that somebody will kick my ass, right? But it's not matter. It's not until I still alive.
It's not happening. It's not happening.
Yeah, right. And it depends who you ask, though, Sergey. Some people don't want to see that,
No, some people want to see you kick his ass.
Believe me.
Right. That's what I'm saying.
No. Believe me, a lot of haters around me.
I believe
and believe me, yes. And a lot of haters wish me to lose. And I hear this from some people, but it's new motivation for me. I really like to disappoint these people.
Right. I'm sure you do, and a lot of people like seeing it. Well, my next question is actually for John. John, I'm curious if you can go back to the Bernard Hopkins fight and tell us more about the game plan, what the game plan was, and why it worked against Bernard.
Well, first of all, Bernard, he's an old fighter, and even though he said he was an alien, he was execution and all that, bottom line, he's an old fighter. And you had to treat him like a old fighter. You had to make him work. You had to make him do things that he didn't want to do to get him out of his comfort zone. And, again, a good jabber would always be Bernard. He had trouble guys at the jab. So I knew Sergey has an excellent, wonderful jab. We had to use the jab to offset Bernard's trickery. That was the difference between the Bernard fight. Bernard he was very well schooled. He understood the game. He was just older. He couldn't do things that he once did. It's easier for us.
Right. All right. Well, hey, thank you, everybody. I look forward to the fight a lot and seeing y'all.
Thank you. And our next question comes from Dax Khan from Hawkins Boxing. Dax, your line is open.
Hi, how's everybody doing today? My first question is for Kathy. Kathy, when I was on the call for the KOVALEV-Hopkins fight, I remember you saying specifically, when Sergey wins, don't go around and start saying he beat an old man. and that's exactly what happened, not only by fans, but a lot of media outlets. If he beats Ward, no matter what fashion, do you see a lot of the same criticism, whether it's going to be Ward was really a super middleweight, despite what John David Jackson brought up, a valid point on Ward always being the bigger fighter? Is it going to be the long layoffs, nagging injuries? Do you think at all will Sergey get full credit no matter how he wins?
You know, as Sergey points out, haters going to hate. There's always going to be somebody who's going to say something, but I will not accept those excuses either because, if you look at the picks the reporters are making, the betting line, if anything, it favors Ward a little bit, which is awesome because it's always so much better to be the underdog, and as we've been talking on this call, having it not be expected. But Ward, in the position he's in, for better or worse, is expected to win. That's who he is. That's the guy he's always been. This is the guy who's never lost a fight since he was a child. Well, you put that out there, then you've got to defend that, and we don't think he can. But when it's over,
do you think
I hope Sergey gets the credit he deserves because it'll be a whole lot. This is a tough fight.
As a promoter, does it not frustrate you the fact that Ward was pretty much inactive for 2 years? He has promotional problems, he had his injuries, and all the other type of things. Meanwhile, Sergey has been out there collecting the belts, unifying the belts, fighting top names, and it seems that Sergey is the B side here when actually he should be the A side. As a promoter, does that make you shake your head at all?
No, to me, he's not the B side. His name is first on the poster. He does have the world titles, and I think that designation of A and B side it's an unfortunate thing in many cases. There certainly are fights like that, but when you have two guys and we can argue all night over who's going to win, there's no A side and there's no B side. We have two great fighters fighting each other. Sergey holds the title right now. Ward has held the title in the past. Ward is a legendary fighter. Sergey is trying to become one. They're at little different points in their legacy aspects of their careers, but nevertheless, this is the fight we wanted. There was no frustration on our side. The only frustration was that we wanted to do it sooner. But we had to wait, and so we did. And Ward has had his fights that he needed, and no excuses. This is in my mind, again, there are fights that defy that A side, B side description, and I think this is one of them.
Thank you. My next question is for John David Jackson. John, we all know how hard Sergey hits. We all know, as you stated before, how Andre Ward can adapt, how he frustrates opponents. But Sergey's last 4 opponents, Bernard Hopkins, Isaac Chilemba, or his last 3 opponents, Bernard Hopkins, Isaac Chilemba, and John Pascal, each one of those represents the very best of each of Andre Ward's biggest asset. Bernard Hopkins, in that fight, Sergey truly, in my opinion, showed a lot of composure and patience. Isaac Chilemba is a guy who really is known to make his opponent, have to use the whole entire ring. You're not able to just bum rush him. And with John Pascal, you have a guy who has always been known to have, a rock-solid chin, very awkward, and he makes guys fight style that they don't want to. Do you actually think, outside the gym, that these 3 opponents actually pretty much built Sergey up, preparing him for this fight before the fight was even signed?
I like your analysis. To a degree, maybe. But, listen, Sergey, what people don't realize is Sergey can fight almost against any style. He's very intelligent in the ring. He knows how to eventually solve the fighter's defensive mechanisms or whatever. So, those 3 fights have helped him prepare for this fight. I think that Sergey would have found a way to solve the riddle of Andre Ward. Andre's going to be a little more difficult because he's going to try to be a little more evasive. That's the only thing that I see that's going to be different. Bernard was more intelligent in the ring. I think Pascal had more power. And so I think those 2 fighters helped him prepare the way for this fight here. Ward's just going to be a little bit more craftier and try to be more basic. And that's what we have to work on, and that's what we have worked on. He's not going to be offensively a big problem. I mean, if he does, then guess what? He's rolling the dice, and he's aiming. If you're going to engage and exchange, then you leave yourself vulnerable and wide open for shots. And I don't think he's going to do that, especially once he gets hit by Sergey. But I think from an evasive standpoint, he's going to try to be very evasive and and try to avoid all of Sergey's power shots. So that's the difference in the fight. How evasive can he be? And if he's real evasive, that means he's not fighting. So how can you win a fight if you're just an evasive fighter? He has to stand and fight eventually. I'm done.
And Will, by the way.
Me too. I'm here too.
Okay, I think that now Ali is going to release the Q&A, and we are going to close our portion of the call. In closing, Sergey, would you like to say anything else to the media before we let you go?
Just get attention for November 19th, everybody. There'll be something new with Andre Ward, you know. He's never lost before, but it's my job. let me give it to do it, you know, like and broke his 0.
Thank you. And Agus, any closing remarks from you?
Not much, but as I said, you know, we're looking forward for somebody to lose, and that would be Andre Ward. I'm sorry about it, but that's the only one thing I can say. Thank you very much. Thank you, everybody. Soon, be tuned, November 19th, HBO pay-per-view or T-Mobile Arena.
Thank you, Agus. And Sir, Kathy, any comments from you?
I think Agus summed it up. You're going to see the best pound-for-pound fighter in the world on November 19th. Don't miss it. Make sure all your readers and viewers and listeners know about it, because this is the fight Pacquiao Mayweather should have been. And I hope enough people, I just hope we get the word out that enough people see it, because if you see it, you're going to be really happy.
You see it, and you believe it, right? You believe it and you see it.
Exactly.
Great, thank you.
Okay.
And I'm going to pass this over now to Ali, who will introduce Lauren Menashe, Andre Ward's portion of the call.
Thank you.
Да, все. Ага. Все, давайте. Ага. Спасибо.
They can hang up now.
Ladies and gentlemen,
okay. Thank
please
you.
stay
Bye-bye.
on the line until the Andre Ward portion of the call begins. You will be put on a music hold. Once again, please remain on the line until the Andre Ward portion of the call begins. You will be put on a music hold. Welcome to the KOVALEV Board conference call. My name is Allie, and I will be your operator for today's call. At this time, all participants are in a listen-only mode. Later, we will conduct a question and answer session. Please note that this conference is being recorded. I will now turn the call over to Lauren Menashe. Lauren, you may begin.
Thank you guys all for staying on Andre Ward's portion of the call. I'd like to introduce President and Chief of Branding and Strategy for Rock Nation, Michael Yormar. Michael, take it away.
Thanks, Lauren, and good afternoon, everybody. As all of you know, it's Election Day here in the United States, and if you think the race for the White House has fireworks, just wait until November 19th in Las Vegas. We're now only 11 days away, and the stakes could not be higher. In 2 minutes, you'll hear from Andre Ward, the best pound-for-pound fighter in the world. After weeks of intense training, Andre will be fighting for something he has spent his entire life pursuing, the title of world's best boxer. For a true competitor like Andre, there cannot be a loftier goal. To walk into the T-Mobile Arena in Las Vegas for the undisputed fight of the year in front of a capacity crowd supporting him and even more watching live on HBO pay-per-view, and to know that Andre has the chance to walk out of that ring as the undisputed face of boxing. In doing so, another chapter will be written in one of the world's most storied rivalries, not just in boxing, but in virtually every competitive arena there is. It is a battle of world superpowers, a matchup of styles as well as beliefs, a collision of two fighters and two cultures, as well as two fan bases. On November 19th, I have no doubt that Andre will win a decisive victory over a worthy challenger in Sergey Kovalev and the title of pound-for-pound king. But before we hear from Andre today, I want to take the opportunity to thank some of the people that have made this global event a reality. Our chairman, Jay-Z, and the president of Rock Nation Sports, Juan Perez, James Prince and Josh Dubin, as well as Virgil Hunter from Team Ward. The entire team at Rock Nation Sports, including Dino Duva, Josh Roy, Eric Botcher, Caitlin Whitwire, and Sarah Flynn. Kathy Duva and her team at Main Events. Peter Nelson and Tony Walker and HBO for bringing this fight to a global audience. Richard Sturm and the MGM for hosting this event at the new and spectacular T-Mobile Arena in Las Vegas. I also want to thank our fight partners, Corona Extra, Monster Products, Jet Lux, and Zappos for supporting the fight and helping to promote and market the event over the past few months. And in addition, I'd also like to mention Andre Ward's partners for November 19th, including ProSups, Lyft, Monster Products, Body Armor, and Jet Lux, as well as his long-standing partners, the Jordan Brand, Power Hands, and Shoe Palace. And now, it's time to hear from the hardest working and best trained boxer in the world today. A man whose commitment to excellence and being the best are surpassed only by his commitment to his family and his community. A man whose passion, work ethic, and pure determination are representative of the Bay Area community from which he hails. It is my pleasure to introduce the best pound-for-pound fighter in the world, the face of the light heavyweight division, and an athlete that Rock Nation Sports is proud to represent. With a record of 30-0 with 15 KOs, a man who hasn't lost a fight since the age of 12, from Oakland, California, Andre S.O.G. Ward.
Thank you, Michael. I don't have much to say in the onset. I'm just thankful for everybody who came together to put this together. Everybody who's been working tirelessly to keep this fight moving as it should in terms of the promotion. Everybody on my team is, working tirelessly to get me ready, and I am ready. And I'm excited that this fight is less than 2 weeks away, and I'm ready to, answer any questions.
Thank you. We will now begin the question and answer session. If you have a question, please press star, then 1 on your touchtone phone. If you're using a speakerphone, you may need to pick up the handset first before pressing the numbers. Once again, if you have a question, please press star, then 1 on your touchtone phone. And we are standing by questions. Once more, if you do have a question, please press star, then 1 on your touchtone phone. And if you are using a speakerphone, you may need to pick up the handset first to press the numbers. And our first question comes from Ryan McQuinana from KNBR 680 San Francisco. Ryan, your line is open.
How you guys doing? Question for Andre. You've progressed to this level, to this fight of such big proportions, of such big magnitude. How does this compare with, say, your Olympic gold medal fight, or maybe the fight with Crotch or the fight with Doss? I mean, all big fights where there was obviously a build up to. How does this compare in terms of the way that you mentally approached it?
Mentally, it's honestly the same to me. Obviously, there's a lot of stakes, a different challenge, moving up in weight, pay-per-views, all those things make it a little bit different. But honestly, whether it's Alexander Brand or Kovalev, like I approach every situation the same way. I wouldn't be able to get to this level and stay at this level if I, checked in and checked out mentally. So, the intensity is the same dedication. It's the same work. I mean, it's about, for me, it's about trying to be the best. And, I'm in a sport where there's really a little room for error. And I understand that every time I step in the ring. So that makes me prepare accordingly.
And I guess I have one more question. This one's for you, Andre, or Virgil. Obviously, Kovalev's such a big puncher, and Andre's such a master on the inside and neutralizing, what opponents do best. I mean, can you kind of compare what you've seen in the tape, obviously watching Kovalev live compared with, other big punchers that Andre's able to neutralize in the past?
I mean, at the end of the day, man, it's, personally, we don't approach the fight, around fear and just kind of being enamored with what a guy does well. We acknowledge it, we respect it, we understand what we're up against. But, I've been in the ring with big punchers, good boxers, you name it. And at the end of the day, to be a champion, you have to be able to beat what's in front of you, no matter what that is. And Kovalev is not just a big puncher, he's also a good boxer, he's a thinker. He understands range, he understands positioning and different things like that. And he has he's a good team. So it's a lot more than just, him being a big puncher. But at the end of the day,
many people make the same mistake with me. They call me a great boxer and a great neutralizer, but there's so much more going on in that ring. And if I was just that, and it was just about defense and neutralizing, trust me, a lot of these big punchers will try to walk through me, but it's a reason they're not. But that's what Fight Night is all about. It's just to show everybody. It's not really about talking about it or trying to prove your case. I have an opportunity to be great November 19th, and it's less than 2 weeks away.
Thank you. Thank you. And once again, please press star then 1 if you have a question. And our next question comes from Dylan from LA Times. Dylan, your line is open.
Hi, Andre. How are you?
I'm doing good, thank you.
The last couple of fights here, we've seen you, I think, maybe a little bit more stationary, maybe not moving around quite as much as you did, obviously, compared to earlier in your career. And I was wondering how much of that was strategic on your part, how much of that was maybe the layoff, how much of that was maybe where you are physically at this point in your life, and also, what can we expect to see in that regard on the 19th?
I think, it's always about what's in front of you. It's about, what type of opponent I have and what needs to be done. And, as you get older, it's about becoming more efficient, I've heard some people say things that I'm not the same fighter that I was, in my 20s, and I hope I'm not. I should be getting better. I should be getting more efficient. My game should be getting, getting better, simply put. And, that's what it's about. It's not about making unnecessary moves. It's about making the necessary moves when you need to make them. And, with the last 2 opponents I had, that's what was necessary. And, but, you're going to see a little bit of everything in this fight. And, that's what it's all about, man. It's about rising to the occasion and being what you need to be in the moment, and we specialize in that. So I look forward to doing the same thing November 19th.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. And our next question comes from Mitch Abramson from Ring TV. Mitch, your line is open.
Thanks. Hey, Andre, how are you?
I'm doing good, thank you.
Good. Sergey suggested earlier in the call that he's going to be a little craftier and maybe try to utilize his intelligence in the ring more than he has when he faces you. Just hearing that, do you think that might play into your strengths even more?
I'm sorry, the first part, he didn't try to do what now?
Yeah, Sergey was talking about it in the other part of the call about how when he faces you, he might try to be a little bit more craftier, maybe a little smarter, more patient than he has in the past because he is facing someone like yourself who has a high boxing IQ and is, a very crafty fighter. Do you think that if Sergey tries to fight you like that, that might be playing into your strength?
It's tough to say. I mean, he's already a good boxer. So, it's not that he's he's not a baller who doesn't think. He thinks in there. So, you guys got to realize though, the fight has already started between our two sides and our two camps. So, I don't put too much stock in that. It's a lot being said. It's just move being played, and we don't get caught up in I'm talking to me specifically. I can't about what they say. They know we're going to read and listen to those things. So, that could be bait or whatever the case may be. But at the end of the day, we're ready for whatever he brings. And that's the key. However he wants to bring it, we got our game plan. And it's about, making constant adjustments. And it's going to be ebbs and flows. And it's going to boil down to who wants it the most. That's what it's going to boil down.
Andre, how do you expect Sergey to come out? Do you expect him to be very aggressive in this fight, or to be a little bit more patient than he has in the past?
I mean, I can't say. I can't say. I don't know what's going on in their camp. And like I just said, you can't put too much stock into what's being said. We're not going to take that bait. We're just ready, man. And when you're ready, I mean, we're ready for whatever. And I truly mean that. So, when you're at that point, we welcome it all. There's nothing that I'm, overly concerned about or hoping that he doesn't do. I mean, at the end of the day, like, I know I sound like a broken record, but you gotta find ways to make adjustments and get the job done in these big moments. I mean, that's what's gonna separate the guy who gets his hand raised and the guy who doesn't. So, we've been working on everything. Mentally, I'm prepared for whatever he brings, and I'm sure he's prepared too.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you. And our next question comes from Keith Idek from The Record.
Okay, I'm just wondering, who are the top couple of punchers you've fought so far?
Who are the top couple punchers?
Yes.
Man, you guys should be able to answer that question for me because you guys are the ones that taught these guys punchers. So it's I mean, I think all the guys that I've fought have had a good punch, and have been guys that should be respected as punchers. Some guys get more credit than other guys, but I can't really single anybody out. I mean, Focher's a good puncher, if I had to name one. But been several. Been several.
Okay. The reason I ask you, obviously, is because you would know much better than me. That's why I'm asking. But
I wasn't trying to be, yeah.
I understand. I also, if you could, just how much do you think your experience against high level of opposition, which you've obviously fought more than him, how much of a factor do you think that could be in a fight, or maybe how much of an advantage might that be for you because you've seen so many different styles and so many different top level fighters?
I mean, I definitely think it helps. I don't think it hurts for sure, and in a fight like this, you take everything you can. You take every tough fight, every experience, every good, every bad moment, not just in the ring, but in your life. You bring who you are into that ring, and I'm fortunate, man, looking back, to see the Super Six, to see the Chad Dalton fight, and even the two fights that I've had, this year. I mean, all of that means something, and that's why it's so important to be moved and managed properly. And I know there's no cookie cutter way to do it, but to fight the right fights at the right time, and then ultimately to test what you have against the best. Because you have showdowns like this, you want to be able to look back and say, man, I've been there. I've been in big moments. I've been doubted before. Or this guy was ready to bug me. Or I've been in the 50-50 fight before. And I can point back to all those things and say that we've been there, we've had those moments, and we've been fortunate to prevail. And so that obviously, has me going into this fight well prepared.
I know you can't sit around and worry about this kind of stuff and probably don't all that much, but do you think the winner of this fight is the number one pound-for-pound fighter in boxing?
It's hard to say definitively, but I think it would be really, really hard to argue against it. And I think just based on both of our resumes and based on the fact that we both are willing to step up and fight at this stage in our career. We're both 30-0. We both have a lot to gain and a lot to lose. And, I think, personally, that the winner of this fight should be pound for pound number one.
Thanks for your time.
Against that. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next question comes from Salvador Rodriguez from ESPN Support. Salvador, your line is open.
Yeah, thank you. I want to say hello first to Andre and Michael. First question is to Michael. Michael, what about the expectations for the pay-per-view for this fight? You have two of the greatest fighters in the world. Do you have a gold medalist in the card? Or actually two with Clarissa Shields. Andre Ward is one of the best guys in the boxing science 10 years ago. So, what is the expectations in the pay-per-view numbers?
We haven't put a number out there. Obviously, we're very excited about this matchup, and we think it's going to do very well. And I think collectively between us and main event, we think it has a chance to be the best pay-per-view event of the year. So we're optimistic. Despite the fact that both fighters will be fighting.
Can you repeat that so you can hear you very well because the sound was sounding.
Hello?
Yeah. The sound was sounding. Yeah. Can you repeat the
Michael, are you still on?
Yeah, he's got a bad connection.
So I think we may have lost him while he reconnects. So, operator, can we move on to the next question for the time being?
Thank you. And our next question comes from Karen Tate from Boxing.com. Karen, your line is open.
Thank you. Andre, great to talk to you today. Thank you for taking the time. I just have a couple questions for you. Some people imply that when you fight, you generally play it kind of safe. But to me, it looks like you're usually applying a lot of pressure, whether you're fighting on the inside or the outside. And it seems like you're often ahead of your opponent mentally as well. Would you say that's accurate?
I would say that's a very, very accurate assessment. I honestly don't. I take that back. I do know what they want. They want blood. They want you knocked down. They want you staggered. And
hello there. Does everybody hear me now?
Yeah, hold on, Mike. I'm trying to answer your question.
Okay.
I've studied this sport for many, many years, and if you go back and look at old footage of Roy Jones, you go back and look at old footage of Bernard Hopkins, you go back and look at old interviews and old footage of Floyd Mayweather, and even obviously currently with Floyd because he's still he's retired but somewhat active in the last few years. It's the same kind of things that were said, and those three guys are legends. Those three guys are Hall of Famers, and you just can't worry about it. You understand that some people will get it, and you understand that some people won't, but you have to do what you have to do, and that's what it boils down to. Some people won't like it, and again, some people will. But as you just mentioned, I couldn't have explained it any better than you did. So that's encouraging to know that some people do get it and appreciate it.
Yeah, definitely. And as a follow-up to that, is when you're displaying that in the ring, is that something that comes to you in the moment, or is it something you work on in training specific to an opponent?
I think it's a little bit of both. Some of who you are, a lot of who you are is who you are. It's who you've been, all these years, and that's kind of set. But then I think what separates, fighters a lot of times is who can make the adjustments, and those adjustments start in the gym. One thing I love about my coach is he's not enamored with what I do well. He acknowledges it, but he's more concerned. He starts where he feels I can be beat. He starts where he feels I'm susceptible to get hit, or something can happen. That's where he starts to train me from that point. And because he's always challenging me, and because he's not enamored with what we've done, and he's always tweaking and just always causing me to get better and add a new wrinkle, and then those things show up in the fight. So, as long as I've been fighting, I come in the gym, and a lot of times I feel like, I'm just starting out because it's always something he's working on, something we're trying to get better at. And then again, they show up when you need them, if you put the time in.
Yeah, that definitely makes sense. Thank you so much, Andre. I really appreciate that.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Welcome. Virgil, are you on the line as well? Virgil couldn't join us today.
Thank you. And once again, if you do have a question, please press star, then 1 on your touch-tone phone.
Michael, do you want to repeat your answer to the last question?
Yeah, just very quickly, we're very optimistic about the pay-per-view numbers. We've got two great fighters. This is a 50-50 fight, the biggest fight of the year, and arguably on paper, the biggest fight of the last decade. So we would be very disappointed if it wasn't the biggest pay-per-view fight of 2016.
Thank you. And once more, if you do have a question, please press star, then one on your touch-tone phone. And our next question comes from Eddie Golden from No Holds Barred. Eddie, your line is open.
Thank you very much. Hi, Andre. I would just like to know, in your words, what we should know about your style and what we should be looking about in your fight that is overlooked in some of the more simplistic explanations of it and previews of it.
That's a tough one. Sometimes, it's tough. Like, some things are caught and not taught, and that means basically, like, I can't explain, what my style is. I don't really have a set style. I feel like if you see it and you understand it and you know what's going on in it, you kind of do. And if you kind of don't, then I don't know if there's anything that I can say to anyone that could, that could make them understand. I mean, I'm just, it's tough to describe. It's not really something that's describable.
Well, you mentioned earlier, some people understand somebody throws a big punch and gets a big knockdown or a knockout. A lot of people understand that. But what would you like people to understand better about the use of angles, infighting, defense, well, that kind of stuff that gets overlooked and people just expect wild brawls?
I mean, I just think, taking me out of the equation, just as a whole, like, boxing has never just been about one thing, and it just seems to me that, in this day and age that, the public is sold that if it's not a knockdown, drag-out fight, or if one guy's not, his ear's not hanging off, that it wasn't worth your time or your money. And I just don't, I don't think that's fair to the fighters. I don't think that's fair to the fans. Hardcore fans, they kind of got, they know who they like, they know what type of styles they like, and, for the most part, they're going to tune in and they're going to buy tickets. But, the casual fans, I feel like that turns the casual fan off when they're not being educated on what they're looking at, or if they're reading things that, that are always ripping one type of style, one type of fighter. Now, it's one thing if a guy is just completely reluctant, doesn't want to throw, it's clear that he doesn't want to be in the ring. But if a guy has a particular style where he has nuances, sometimes he fights, sometimes he boxes, whatever the case may be, I feel like, the general public should just be educated on what they're looking at. And I feel like, that's going to enhance and empower the sport. I'm a casual, MMA fan. I have a couple of friends that are in the sport, but I don't really necessarily know what I'm looking at, and I've never heard, anybody in the MMA really trash their fighters. Even if they got 2 or 3 losses, they may say things like, hey, this guy has, his stand-up isn't very good, and then if he gets you on the ground, you're going to have trouble. And as a casual fan of MMA, that makes me want to stay engaged and makes me want to keep watching and keep tuning in, because I've just been educated about something that I didn't know anything about. And I feel like it could be the same way with boxing.
And lastly, do you have any prediction? Go ahead.
It's about a victory, man. It's about a victory. It's about getting my hand raised, and I'm not leaving Las Vegas without those belts. That's what it boils down to. And however we got to get it, that way. But I don't have any predictions. I've never been a prediction guy. I just know I'm ready, and I'm excited, and I can't wait to fight.
Okay, thank you. Good luck in the fight.
Thank you.
Thank you. And our next question comes from Jason Gonzalez from MaxBoxing.com. Jason, your line is open.
Thank you, Carly. What's up, Andre? How you doing?
I'm doing good.
Cool. Just, Andre, 2 questions. The first question, it's no secret you had some detractors in the past. Do you think you may have won them over based on what the general public learned about you and your family from the documentary that was aired on HBO, which was terrific, by the way?
Man, thank you for that. It's a real vulnerable moment. I haven't talked about that at all, really, for a lot of reasons. But I appreciate that. But in terms of, listen, if anybody heard about my story and became a supporter, or previously was a detractor and became a fan or supporter, then I welcome that. I'm appreciative of that. I've done that where I generally knew about a guy, but then heard a story and became a big fan. Dak Prescott
is Prescott is a perfect example. Like I'm not a Dallas Cowboys fan by any means, but I admire his talent on the field. But then I heard his story. I truly became a supporter and somebody who appreciates what he's come from. So I appreciate that, but by no means am I trying to necessarily win anybody over. I mean, detractors are there, man, and they're going to be there, and they're there for different reasons, and it's okay. Everybody doesn't have to like you or appreciate you. But I am thankful, man, and appreciative of my story in some kind of way, touch somebody. That's a good thing.
Cool. Now the second question, Andre. Back in 2012, when Floyd was retired and you had fought Chad Dawson and got the victory, a lot of the pundits was looking at you as the best fighter pound for pound. With that being said, do you think it's a little strange that this is going to be the first time you fight in Vegas? Shouldn't that have happened before?
I mean, I definitely tried to make it happen. And being close to Vegas, in theory, I feel like it should have happened. But and I've also always wanted to fight in New York City, at Madison Square Garden or the Barclays. But it just didn't happen for one reason or another, And but I'm just happy, man, that it's happening now. And what better time than right now at this stage of my career to this moment. And you just got to trust, the guy that's playing, man. It's not always what you want it to be or when you want it to be. But, I can't argue with the way that the stage is set and the way that the table is set right now. So I'm just excited about, seizing this moment.
Andre, thank you for your time. Best of luck on the 19th of November. I'm looking forward to it.
Thank you, brother.
Thank you. Our next question comes from Samuel Rosenberg from Boxing Channel TV. Samuel, your line is open.
All right. Thank you very much. Thank you for having me. My first question for you, Andre, is you've actually alluded to both ends of my question already. And the first time I had seen your story was Jonathan Butler had written about it because he spent some time with you. And I was wondering why did it take so long for that to come out? I know your backstory is probably, of course, it's a difficult one. And, who are we as journalists to say, reveal your whole life story to me and you don't know who I am? But I was wondering, how can we do a better job as boxing journalists to get these types of stories out there and serve the fighters better?
That's a great question. Bren was he's a great guy, by the way, for Undefeated. It's the first time I really, really, really opened up about it. And the HBO piece that everybody just saw was the first time I think I've been on camera talking about, my story in detail. I think I probably mentioned some things here and there. But, I mean, from my standpoint, I'm a private person, number one. But number two, I've always wanted to respect my mom and dad. My dad didn't die in that. My mother, she's doing well right now. And, I've always seen the rags to riches, kid that came from the ghetto. And, I just didn't want to come into the game with that type of story and with that, type of thing preceding me. I wanted to be about who I was as a person, about my talent, about my ability. And then I felt like, at the right time, I'd start to open up about it. It took 12 years. I've been a professional almost 12 years. But what kind of got me going was I just started to feel discontent with myself. I felt like, my supporters and my fans, they know me and they understand part of my story, but I thought it was just important just to kind of pull back the curtain and let them know, look, it wasn't, it hasn't always been easy, and just hoping that somebody, can relate to hopefully what I've gone through in some kind of way and gain some inspiration and some encouragement from the end, to relate to it and humanize you a little bit more, because I'm so much more than just a fighter. I've overcome so much more than what the public has seen, in the ring. I've overcome a lot in life, and that speaks to, my faith and just all these different things that people wonder about sometimes. I felt like the missing component was obviously, me opening up and just talking about it. And obviously my father's deceased now, but I talked to my mom. I said, man, is it okay, Mom? She was like, hey, speak about it. So it was a process. It was a long process, but it was necessary, And I think just from a journalistic standpoint, I can't speak for any other athletes, but for myself, you just want to be able to know that you can trust the person you're talking to, and that there's not going to be anything added or taken away from your story to sensationalize it or whatever the case may be. I think trust is a big thing, and I think sometimes, people don't realize that goes a long way. Because for me, if I can trust you and if I know that your yes is your yes and your no is your no, man, I'll give you the world, man. I'll give you more than, probably I expected to get. And I've heard that from other athletes as well.
Yeah, that makes total sense. I was going to say probably transparency, from a journalistic perspective, or from your perspective to ours. Like, yeah, tell me your life story. Well, who are you, Sam? I get it. Trust. But yeah, that kind of answers it. Anything else in general that you think boxing journalists in particular, what do we lack? What could we do better?
Oh man, you're gonna get me in trouble, man. I don't.
Now it sounds like, hey, trust me.
I'm just teasing. I'm just teasing. No, I mean, at the end of the day, just to generalize it again, it's about just integrity and about trust, man. I think that's what. I don't think it's anything. You guys, individually and collectively, you guys obviously are great at what you do. That's why you guys cover the sport and cover other things as well, and maybe cover other sports. You got to obviously have that down pat, but I just think humanizing the athlete and looking at them more than just a commodity. Athletes, a lot of times they get the rap as being dumb and being meatheads and being, unintelligent, especially fighters. But regardless of what a person's, educational background is, they know if you're being real with them. They know if you're trustworthy. They can sense and feel if you have the best interest at heart. And just being genuine, man. And I think, being genuine, being upfront, being truthful, that takes care. That's like half the battle. And I feel like fighters and athletes will open up a lot, man, if they feel like they can trust.
Right.
But that's just how I want to think,
Yeah, that goes pretty close in line, though. The first time I'd asked that question was Thomas Hauser, and he said, sunlight's the greatest disinfectant. And I said, ooh, that's a good quotable there. That's a good one.
I like that.
Yeah, right. All right, well, hey, thanks for the insight, Andre. I did have another question for Michael. Michael, I was curious, are you a long-time boxing fan, or did you just get into it recently?
No, I've been a boxing fan for many, many years. I remember, watching, Muhammad Ali against Leon Spinks in my home in Morristown, New Jersey, with my mother and my brother and my sister. When I got out of graduate school, I actually did an internship at Madison Square Garden Boxing and worked for Bobby Goodman, who, as you know, worked for Don King for many, many years as a matchmaker. So, boxing has been a passion of mine for many, many years. And when I joined Rock Nation, 3 years ago, we had just gotten into the sport. So, obviously, it was a great opportunity for me to embrace a sport that I've watched very, very closely for many, many years. And, we've been very fortunate now to work with some great fighters, namely Andre and Miguel Cotto and others. And it's really just been an incredible thrill for us.
Yeah, you guys got some good fighters coming up too. I know I talked to Mo Hooker, Maurice Hooker, and yeah, you've got some other good ones. But yeah, that's interesting. I was just curious if you were also then. So you go back a ways with boxing. I was kind of curious what hooked you, and if you were instrumental too in Rock Nation getting into boxing, if you kind of helped push it at all.
Well, listen, Jay-Z and Juan Perez, the head of our sports division, have been boxing fans for many, many years, and it was really their decision to get into the sport. I joined Rock Nation right at the moment that, we stepped into this space. Obviously have helped, push it along. We've come a long way in a very short period of time, and obviously to have the opportunity to work with Andre and to be part of this, fight on November 19th is something that, quite frankly, we couldn't have imagined, a short 2 years ago. But it's a great moment, for us, obviously a great moment for Andre and his family, and we're just looking forward to it.
Yeah, right on. Well, hey, thank you everybody for your time. Can't wait for the fight.
Great question.
Thank you.
Thank you. Our next question comes from Jerome Souza from firstclassboxing.com. Jerome, your line is open.
Hi, thank you guys for taking the time. Andre, it's safe to say that you're safe to boxing in Northern California, the East Bay, the San Francisco Bay Area. What's it like to have that honor? And do you think with your given success and what you've done in the sport, you've increased the interest in boxing where you're from specifically?
Man, that's a good question. I hope that I've had some part to play in it because, boxing in Oakland used to be a lot bigger. There was multiple gyms, Pittman's, King's Gym, which is still there, but Pittman's is no longer there. And it was just a more competitive town and sport. I mean, you had top contenders. You had a lot of bad guys, fighting in the same city. They sparred together. They fought against each other. And, I heard a lot of these stories. I kind of started boxing at the tail end of all of that. And, just to be able to, to make my mark starting here and then going worldwide is just unbelievable. And when I see young kids in the gym, when I see young kids come up and say, man, I box because you box. I want to win a gold medal like you won a gold medal. I mean, it's just amazing to me. I'm blown away. I never get used to that, and I'm so thankful for that opportunity just to play my part. And I'm not a guy who recruits kids to fight because I know that, it's a different kind of sport. It can be lonely. It's not a team sport, and it can be very dangerous. But I totally support it if the kid wants to do it on his own, if he's dedicated to it and wants to give it his all. I'm behind it 100%.
And, being a native from the Bay Area, if you go down Mission Boulevard and see that big mural of you on the wall at the, U.S. Karate and Kickboxing or Medina's Gym, whatever it's called, what's it going to be like when you'll have the opportunity to have that same, look at that mural years back, but now being, on the verge of pound for pound undisputed? What goes through your mind?
It's surreal, and I try not to, kind of had a culture growing up, and fighting as a young kid, just where we never really got too caught up in ourselves. We've never really patted ourselves on the back. I'm talking me, Verge, and, my father when he was alive. It's just, we've always had a blue-collar mentality. We truly had that. And, I honestly get a little scared sometimes to look back at what we've accomplished and kind of relish in it because, the clock is still ticking. I'm still active. It's still, obviously November 19th, but I mean, my career is still going, and I still got to continue to show up and show my worth and continue to be, the champion that I am. And it's just hard sometimes to stop and look back at all you've accomplished and look back at the road that you traveled on because it's just, personally, it's good to do it sometimes, but it's not really time to sit back and relish in that. But when I do peek back, just for a split second, it's just overwhelming. I just can't believe that God has taken us this far. I can't believe that a young kid at 9 years old who just wanted to do what his dad did has gotten this far. If my father was alive, I'm sure he wouldn't be able to believe it either.
And you threw out the first pitch at a few A's games. You're at the Warriors game quite a bit. How much of a fan base is going to be there in Vegas? The A's fans, the Raider fans, the Warrior fans. How many people are we going to see there? Support you. I
don't know how many, but I think the Bay Area's gonna show up, man, and show out like they always do. They support their own, and everybody I run into, obviously I've been a little isolated in camp, but everybody's excited about it as they should be. And it's funny because kind of casual fans, they don't think you've made it until you went to Vegas. So I think the Bay Area as a whole, the fans that are hardcore, I think they've just been waiting on the Vegas moment. The Vegas moment is here. And the feel that I get, man, is the Bay Area's going to show up and show out like they always do.
All right, well, hope they do, man. I appreciate it. Take care, guys. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you all for joining the call today. Andre or Michael, do you have any closing statements?
Andre, why don't you go first?
Man, I'm ready. Just quote me on that. I'm ready. I'm excited. Tune in to watch this fight. It's worth every dollar. It's worth every dollar if you pay to come see it. It's worth your time. You won't be disappointed.
This is Michael. I'm going to go back to my old hockey days and quote the late Herb Brooks back in 1980 when the United States beat Russia for the gold medal in the Olympics. Herb said, "Great moments are born from great opportunities." And when I think about November 19th, This is just a tremendous opportunity for Andre to prove why he is the best of the best and one of the greatest fighters of all time. And, we at Rock Nation are so excited for him and his family. We know there's going to be a sellout crowd. We expect a huge HBO pay-per-view audience. As I said earlier, this is, without question, the fight of the year and arguably one of the biggest fights of the last decade. It's been 19 years since two fighters ranked in the top 5 pound-for-pound fighters in the world, undefeated in their prime, have gotten into the ring together to do battle. And on November 19th, you're going to see that again for the first time in 19 years. So, as Andre said, he's ready. I'm ready to embrace him after he collects those 3 belts. And we can't wait till November 19th. And we hope that everybody will tune in on HBO pay-per-view. Those people that are fortunate enough to make the trip to Vegas, get there safely. And we appreciate everybody's support today and everybody's time today. So thank you so much.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. This concludes today's conference. Thank you for participating. You may now disconnect.